Welcome to the Podium Proof F1 podcast. My name is Frank Alessi.
I'm David Alessi.
Sergio Perez wins in Saudi Arabia 2023, leading another Red Bull 1-2 and possibly creating the only chance of a battle at the front this year. Let's get it.
All right, welcome. So another Red Bull dominant victory, 1-2. All right. Appreciate y'all hanging out with us. We'll see y'all next.
That's it. Jesus, dude. Something's got to give this year, man. Somebody else got to figure it out.
Oh my God, yeah.
Or maybe there's a wall that will be hit due to their penalties at some point. Maybe there's a development wall. But man, this is.
I mean, dude, let's say they hit a wall now. Like, is it
nobody's even in their
anything?
ballpark? Nobody's even remotely close to their ballpark.
I mean, good God. So, all right, well, let's run through our usual. Go through my little spiel here. QR code, bottom left of the screen there, will take you to our link tree. Has all our social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok. Take you to our YouTube page and the website. And if you would be so kind to give us a like and subscribe if you're watching us on YouTube, please and thank you. As well as follow us on social media and feel free to reach out. Shoot us a DM. Let us know what you want to hear. If you got any thoughts, questions, comments, any of it, hit us up. So let's talk something that's probably a little more interesting than what this race was. What you drinking?
I got me a little smoke wagon, uncut, unfiltered.
I almost grabbed that for tonight as well.
Yeah,
I looked at it.
I figured I'm gonna do something fun tonight. This one is, let's see, batch number 116, bottled on November 8th, 2021. And we have 57.11%.
Oh, you got me by a little bit. Mine's 57.04.
Mm-hmm. It's a good little number, though. On 114. Man,
yeah.
The nose on these things, on these smoke wagons are so good.
Oh, yeah, they are. Everything smoke wagon does is good. Even just the small batch is awesome.
It really is, dude. The small batch is very good.
Yeah. So, not doing a fresh bottle crack or anything tonight or any kind of special like one-off bottle.
That's your first show this year with no bottle crack.
I know. I haven't really done a whole lot of shopping, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I heard that.
But going to Old Trusty that actually haven't had in quite a while. I was kind of feeling it tonight. Elijah Craig Toasted Barrel.
That looks like a new one. Did you get another one?
I mean, I've had a few of them. I've gotten lucky. Like last year. Yeah, dude. Last year I got lucky where I was able to consistently get them kind of every time I was getting down on the bottle. I was able to pick up another one. And to be honest with you, I have seen them more. Like I very well could have gotten more, but
what the hell? I never got a single phone call.
I figured if I'm seeing them more not like walk in and get them, but if I walked in on like one of the drops.
Mm-hmm.
But the problem is if I got to one of the drops early enough, you can only buy one bottle. It's not one of each different one. It's one bottle. So I obviously went for other things, but these were showing up more frequently.
Well, keep your eyes out because if they are, they're going quick here.
Okay.
So, all right, man. Let's get right into this. I mean, Lewis Hamilton said that Red Bull is the fastest F1 car he's ever seen.
Yep.
And I don't know. So that's all, I guess it's all relative, right? But yeah, the Red Bull might be a little faster than his Mercedes, but in some of the Mercedes dominant cars, they were beating everybody by the same amount. So to me, that's equally as fast.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's like I said, it's all relative. So, you know, I think he has a short memory as to what it was like when he was on the other end. He was on the Red Bull end of that spectrum.
Yeah.
You know, it didn't seem to be a problem then. But nonetheless, man, I mean, Red Bull has just absolutely got it dialed in. And they're goddamn freight train, and it doesn't look like anybody can stop them short of themselves.
Yep.
Which actually, from the looks of it, towards the end, was looking like it might happen. Max complaining about drive shaft issues again, which made really the only interesting part of the weekend was when he was out in Q2 and started P15.
Right.
But look, I mean, Checo drove a hell of a race because once that safety car came out, I was like, oh, that's it. Max got it now. But
yeah, I thought he was going to end up getting ahead of Checo at that point.
yeah, he still had a little bit of work to do, a little bit too much work to do.
Yeah. Well, no, I mean, like when that happened, I was like, oh, that's it. All right, he's going to end up at some point due to that getting ahead of Checo, not like jumping him,
Right. No. That's what I meant.
Start.
I know, like, but I'm saying in hindsight, he wound up just having a little bit too much work to do.
Yeah.
He had to clear, what was it, Russell and Alonso.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, look, dude, I really don't know what else we could say about Red Bull that isn't being just repeated and sounded over and over and over, man.
We sound like a broken record at this point.
Lewis might be right. It's hard to argue with that anyway.
Yeah.
They nailed last year's concept right out the gate, but holy shit, did they refine it this year?
Yep. I mean, if there is, not that there probably was, but if anybody had any doubt of Adrian Newey or really the organization as a whole, any doubts about that were left have surely been put to bed.
I know. It really makes you wonder, like, when you see how absolutely dominant they are right now and how they were just right out the gate last year and then previously in their stretch of 4 in a row. It really makes you wonder, like, what was it about the previous set of regs that just wasn't clicking for Adrian? Like, there had to be something that he was just missing. Because, like, they had a fast car, they had a race-winning car, but they never had a challenger until 21. Yeah. And it was only at the hands of Max. You know, had it not been one of a couple of drivers on the grid, I don't think that car was a challenger. I think in the hands of somebody like Max, Charles, maybe Lando. That's about it.
Yeah.
Not
Shy
obviously
of,
Fernando, but I'm just thinking about the
shy
younger guys.
of a few people
yeah.
that car was not
Lando
doing
hadn't
what it
really
did.
proved it yet that he can
Mhm.
hang at the front. I mean, Charles has proved it. And, we don't have to go down that road again, but
Yeah.
But either way, man, I mean, that's the only thing like that kind of gets me about Adrian Newey. It's like, man, what was it about that set that just didn't click?
Mm-hmm. Or and not that it didn't click, it just didn't click on the level that these did. You
Right.
know?
Well, no, I mean, you just see like everywhere he's been, he's made dominant cars. Even one of his last McLaren cars before he left, the 06 car, that was the fastest car on the grid by far. Kimi should have walked away with that championship had it not been for the Mercedes engines letting them down. So like, and then it took him 2.5 years to turn that shit Jaguar into a title contender.
Yep.
And then, like, I don't know. It's weird.
Yeah.
Now, granted, maybe he had it. I don't know. Maybe he did. Now that I'm spitballing on this a little bit, maybe it was just the engine that held them back for so long towards the back half of that last set of regulations. Obviously they had the disastrous falling out with Renault.
Mm-hmm.
And then you had, it took Honda a year to really get their feet underneath them.
Right. Yep.
So maybe it was, maybe he did have it. Maybe it just was that power unit issue the whole time. I don't know.
I mean, that's definitely a possibility. I mean,
That had to be even more frustrating.
I wouldn't deny that. I wouldn't
How sad
say
is that
that's
if
off
you're
the table.
for Danny Rick?
Yeah. Yeah. That's a whole nother conversation, but
Well, hey, at least he's not driving a McLaren this year.
yeah, man. So did you see in the race when they showed Mika in the garage?
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, man, that's got to be tough for him.
He's like, this ain't what I left.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I don't know what y'all did to this place after I left, but y'all better fix it.
Yeah, that's right.
Put Mika in charge.
Yeah, I know, right? Let's skip on down to Aston Martin here.
Yep. Another podium.
2 in a row. Then not, then back again. Man, look, they come out the gate strong. We thought they would. Then they unveil their car. And I still say I don't think it mirrors the Red Bull. I think a lot of the things are similar. But the more I look at it, man, like it's not. It's almost like a hybrid of the Ferrari and the Red Bull. But I don't know. It bothers me that it's unnatural concepts. And I know like Formula One is, he's the best. What are they doing? But I feel like it's like, oh man, look at that little piece right there. We didn't think of that. Let's see if we can work that in our design some kind of way. I don't like the whole we're gonna take this concept. And we saw him do it in 2020. And I don't know, man. I don't have a good feeling. I just don't think it ends well. That I don't think designing your car like that can get them where they want to get, because at the very best, you're always going to be a year behind. You're always going to be behind that curve.
Well, and that's exactly what I was going to say. I mean, at some point though, if that's truly what is happening, at some point you are going to have to figure it out on your own, right? I mean, if you continue to sit where you are, and let's say they get to where they're finishing P2 in the constructors, right? You just going to sit there for forever?
But that's the thing. Yeah. But like, even still, I don't think it's only going to be a P2 as long as that design is good. Like, just like what happened in 2020, it wasn't even good for P2 that year because they're not developing it.
Right.
Because they can't.
Well, and I think that's going to be
Mercedes, and if Mercedes and Ferrari will catch it past them this year.
So the real kicker is, as the year progresses, and that's what will tell us whether or not, they just straight up, I don't want to use the word stole, but we'll say borrowed, whether or not they in fact borrowed the whole concept, or they kind of have their own and they just played it smart and took, the ideas from everybody else that worked and put them all together. Whether or not they can keep this momentum through the season is what will answer that question, right? Now, history tells us that they will not, and that they will start to regress. But, there's a chance. It'll get answered soon enough,
Yeah, no doubt. And look, if this had been the first time, we might be sitting here looking at it with a completely different lens. Because this one isn't as blatant as
the
2020.
Mercedes.
I mean, that 2020 was a legit pink Mercedes.
Yeah.
This one there's, like I said, it's almost like a hybrid. But, and they're not shy about saying that, which is even weirder.
Well, no, because they know there is nothing illegal about anything they did.
No, I'm not talking about it's weird from a legality standpoint. I'm talking about it's weird because, have you ever heard of somebody in F1 that does not have an ego?
Yeah. Very true. Very true.
And especially like the engineers or the designers, because that's their
resume.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I can't see this being a good long-term thing, man. Like, and it really disappointed me because I feel like they've got everything working in the right direction, man. Like they really do. And look, if they have made the correct changes in their staff and in their people, and they're able to develop this car, then I'll feel differently about it.
Right.
But kind of, because I still feel like you need to come up with your own shit. However, the issue was you can't develop it because you don't understand it. You don't understand it because you didn't create it.
Yep.
So, maybe now you at least have the people in place to develop it further than you did the last time, but I don't know. I kind of hope so because they seem to be the only hope right now to make this championship interesting.
Yeah.
Mercedes is about to just blow shit up.
Yep, that's getting ready to happen.
I mean, Toto, I got it on paper, bro. You said your car is fucked.
Yeah. Yep.
On paper.
He sure did.
I mean, dude, what they are sounding the alarm bells over there.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, hell, they were sounding them. I don't remember what race it was last year, but it was on the radio to Lewis afterwards. He was telling him, he was apologizing for such a shit car. Like,
Well, I know, but they still felt like, and
at that point, they still had hope for it.
yeah, I told you. I don't know if we said it on air, but I know I told you that Brazil may have been the worst thing that could have happened last year. Because I think it reaffirmed something that wasn't there. I think it gave them a whole bunch of false hope that their car design did have that potential, but they didn't do it on merit. But I think that just because it was a 1-2, it just kind of clouded everything.
Yeah.
But, had like 9 different things not happened, that doesn't happen. And it's probably for the better for them long term.
Yeah.
But either way, now it seems like we're going to see a whole new Mercedes car at some point in the near future.
Yeah. And I haven't seen
Toto.
too much. I haven't seen too much more on that other than just acknowledging that we will more than likely see something new. Not a whole lot of details out there.
No, but why would they?
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
All they've said is it will be noticeably different, which means pretty much a different concept.
That sure seems to be the case. So on the topic of Mercedes, Lewis's right hand, left hand, both hands, Angela Cullen, his trainer, his physiotherapist, I don't know the exact title, but his everything, as far as it seems, has left. Don't know where or what she's going to do. Don't really know. Was it her? You said earlier, which I hadn't seen.
There's conflicting reports about everything, which I don't even know why it has to be like that.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like,
regardless of what it is, just leave it as
some
she's no
things
longer
just
here.
have
We wish her the best.
a shelf life.
Yeah. So, like, look, if they show Lewis on TV and you see him just like walking in a circle, it's because he's off balance and
somebody just grab him and point him.
Yeah, like he's turning, looking for where she is with his scooter. So and he's just doing circles. And look, I'm sure every driver has that right hand, right? But it just seems like she was so much more of that right hand than what any other driver has.
They were tight, man.
Yeah,
like they were a legit team and a true, just like a duo.
Yeah,
I mean, she was everywhere.
Yep. So it'll be interesting to see if her not being there has any effect on Lewis and his, mental state and his overall, performance due to that.
I
I mean,
think just
that's a big change.
his ability to stay grounded.
Yeah.
It'll be tested.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And I mean, it's no secret that something like that will very quickly influence their performance on track.
Mm-hmm.
If you're not, grounded is a good way to put it. If you're not in the right headspace, whatever it may be, and you were saying from everything you found, she came on in 2017, but it sure seems like
I don't
lot
know if she was
longer.
there in a different, maybe a lesser capacity before that.
Mm-hmm.
But that's everything. I guess, like in the current role.
Yeah. I mean, it sure seems like it's been a lot longer than that, but
it really does, man.
I mean, that's a big change nonetheless, So it'll be interesting to see how that all plays out. And what also is going to be interesting to see is, are there going to be any fireworks within the Mercedes garages? So here's
I think you're going to
where
see
I'm at
some
with
there. And that's
I
actually
don't.
something. Hold on, time out. That's actually something that we forgot to discuss when we were on Red Bull, just because of all the winning. So why don't we do this? Why don't we go through? Because I feel like there's about 4 teams that are going to have fireworks exploding within their own garage.
Mm-hmm.
You've got Red Bull, if Checo can keep up his current pace. Mercedes, Alpine, possibly Haas, and maybe even McLaren.
Maybe I was going to throw McLaren in there if you didn't. Yeah.
So why don't we do that? Let's hop into these.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
From where we're at right now.
Mm-hmm. It is. I mean, I don't know how many fireworks there will be with Red Bull, because look, they can say all they want. The lead driver is going to get the preferred strategy. If there's 2 drivers in the fight, then there's not going to be a favorited. We all know that's not true. They can say it all they want. It is not true.
I agree. However, I think after all that transpired last year, and even that weird little thing that happened at the end of this race
with Max going right to the pit lane, you talking about?
No, I'm talking about in the actual race where Checo's getting deltas to hit, and he's like, "Well, what is Max?" And it was 4/10 under him.
Yeah,
and he's like, "Well, what the hell?"
Yeah.
Like all those little things. Checo's making notes,
Mm-hmm.
and I think some fireworks that you're going to see are, because I don't think Checo's getting. I think given the opportunity, like let's say Lando were to come up available, Red Bull will pursue him. So I think Checo's just going to say, you know what? This is the best feeling Red Bull that I've driven. It suits me. I'm going for it. And he's not going to be nearly as eager to play those team orders, team strategy, team politics that he's been so happy and gracious to do over the past couple years.
Very true.
So I think that's the kind of, it's just not going to be, the Bottas level obedience anymore.
Yeah.
And that's what could lead to some fireworks. Obviously, I don't think it's any question that Max, even if they just let him absolutely duke it out, Max is going to come out on top.
Mm-hmm.
He's a freak.
Yeah.
he's a generational type talent, and he would prevail. However, Checo might be able to make it interesting along the way if he just goes rogue.
Yeah. And I don't think that's off the table.
I think at the end of last year, had Max let him by in Brazil, was it?
Yeah.
No, yeah.
Was it Brazil?
Yeah. It was second to last race. It was Brazil.
Yeah.
Had he let him by in Brazil, I don't even think we're having this conversation.
Agreed.
But I think that changed everything.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Well, and yeah, just how quickly, in this race, how quickly Checo was like, well, what did Max do?
Mm-hmm.
And pointing that out to them, like didn't miss a beat.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that could happen. It very well could.
And that's a very different dynamic than where Mercedes are at.
Mm-hmm.
And that might be a little harder to balance.
Well, when you've got
Because, like,
Russell
how
on,
Checo's situation will end if he really just goes rogue.
Yeah, they're going to shit can him.
Right.
Like, problem solved.
Yeah, done. Cool. Could you imagine the predicament they would be in if he actually did win the title, though?
Oh, my God, man. Yeah. Whew. What do you do there?
Because I don't think they would like that, to be honest.
No, they wouldn't. No, they wouldn't. Man, on the topic of Red Bull and them two, so there's a picture circulating, which I don't know why so many people are surprised. I agree with how shitty it is. I do not disagree there whatsoever. I just can't believe how many people are surprised when Checo was running up to the fence and hugging all the crew and all that, and Yas is standing there just arms folded, like staring straight ahead. No smile, no nothing, right? No excitement for him whatsoever.
It was like Checo wasn't even there.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And, it's like, look, is that very fucked up? Yes. Do I also remember, like a lot of people have brought up, how freaking excited Checo's dad was for Max and, towards Yas and all that previously, when he won the title and all that. Yes, I do remember that. And yes, they are two very different people. But, it's like, man, that is, especially that it was right there on TV as well. It's like, man, that's not a good look, but it's not a surprise.
That's the thing. Like, I guess it doesn't bother me as much because, like, I think we would have to question more what's going on if Yas would have been, like, all excited and hugging on Checo and pumped up.
Yeah. I mean, dude, even a smile and a pat on the back or something, like, hey, man, great job.
That ain't how he operates, bro.
No, it's not. It's not. I wouldn't expect him to be, all exuberant and jumping and hugging him. But come on, man. Can you at least give him an attaboy? Like,
no.
Shit, is it going to kill you?
Plain and simple, no.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah. Look, Mercedes, dude, that was strange. They wound up offsetting.
You mean that Russell was faster than Hamilton on the hard tires?
Yeah, well, just like the whole premise of it was strange. Because it was like Russell was managing, Lewis was on a medium, and should have been managing. Because he had to make that tire last way more.
Yeah.
So he's running this pace, and I think the pace caught George off guard as to how Lewis was going. And whenever they started talking like, hey, we're going to have to let Lewis by, he was like, I don't fucking think so.
Yeah,
I
I'm out
got
here
tons
just
of pace in
managing.
here.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and I'm on hard tires. I'll make these babies last even if I pick it up a little bit.
Uh-huh.
And
Yep.
dude, like from the second they had that, he responded, he was gone.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like you could literally just watch the ticker and watch that gap climb.
Yep.
And then it was out of the question.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Because it was what? It was hovering around like a second and a half, something like that.
Yeah, I mean,
And
Lewis
then
was
in no
closing him
time,
down.
it was up at 5.
Lewis was bumping like DRS zone.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then George was just like, okay, if that's how it's going to be, see ya.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Like I'm not getting caught up in this. Yeah, I think fireworks are definitely they're being lined up right now. Fuses are being drawn out.
Well, I think, and that was probably the first time where Lewis had legitimately had that happen to him in a very long. Well, I say that at least since Bottas has been there.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I'm sure that exact situation probably happened when Nico was there. He could have been like, I don't think so. I don't care if I burn these tires out. And he actually passes me. I'm not letting him pass.
I'm not giving it to him. Yep. Yep. And that's what we're going to see.
Yeah.
George is not going to just willingly give it. He's not. You know, he may
I like
have
that. I like that he didn't come in as a pushover.
He may have a ton of respect for Lewis. He may be willing to play the team game to an extent, but he also knows that he is the future of that team, not Lewis. Right?
Asking him to do that is not going to do him any favors.
Exactly.
Long term.
Mm-hmm. And I'm sure they know that, and he damn sure knows that. And he's not gonna play that. You know, if it's a legitimate thing, then yeah, sure. But in the case of this race, he was like, all right, well, hell, I'll just pick up the pace and leave Lewis too far back for y'all to even think about this. I did think it was funny when he came on the radio when they were talking about Alonso, and he was like, well, Alonso's got the penalty and this and that. And they were like, no, he's already served that. It was kind of like, oh, shit.
Right.
He's like, well, there goes that idea.
Anyway.
Yeah.
I'm still not doing what you asked. Yeah, so I don't know. That'll be interesting. Judging from how close together the Alpines are running, I think it's only a matter of time before somebody lights that wick.
Oh, yeah. That's happening.
I mean, they finished like 2 seconds apart. Yeah, not even 1.9.
That is no doubt going to happen.
And I'm sure they got to a point where they had no threat behind. They had no way of catching anybody in front. I'm sure that was a, hey, like, we're calling it. Y'all just bring it home.
Yeah. Oh, it was. Yeah.
Like, no fuckery, no nothing. Like, after last week, we want the points. Bring it home.
Yep. Dude, I do not like the pink Alpines.
I don't either, but I think they're gone now.
Are they?
I think they only ran the first 2 races last year.
I don't remember.
And I think it was the same thing this year.
Yeah, I don't like it.
I know. They got such a cool blue scheme, especially when they ran it with the Castrol incorporated in it. That was sick.
Yep. Yeah, I hope you're right about that. I hope it's gone.
I think I think it's the same deal.
Like, and
Yeah,
dude,
I don't like it.
it's just so natural to want to be like, oh, look, yeah, the Racing Point.
I know, right?
And then you're like, oh wait, shit, no, they haven't been around for a while.
But yeah, I think it's gonna be. I'm pretty sure it'll be Ocon that instigates it. He'll pull something on Gasly like what he did to Fernando last year.
Mm-hmm.
Just absolutely slam the door in a way that you should never really do on your teammate.
Yeah.
And it'll be on from there.
Yep. That one is happening.
That will happen. Yeah.
There's no question. Yes.
They're both at the same point in their career. They both need to make a name for themselves. They're both trying to work themselves into, higher standing among the grid. I mean, there's just the stakes are just too high.
Yep.
For it not to go that way.
And they hate each other way too much to let anything slide.
Mm-hmm.
For sure.
And then Haas, I mean, I don't know. Maybe the maturity level now
I was gonna say,
will prevail.
I think that one's a little less, a lot less likely to happen. I think both of them are a little older now, a little wiser, a little more mature.
Both on their
they're both on their
third.
second chance. I don't know that we're going to see anything there. I think we maybe will see like a quick outburst if something stupid happens, but I don't think anything prolonged or anything serious is going to come of it.
Yeah, I agree. And I don't know, man, McLaren might. Piastri looks to be.
He was looking kind of racy against Lando.
Pretty close to Lando so far.
Yeah.
And they even told Lando like not to mess with him. Like, I couldn't really understand why.
I couldn't. Maybe clearly he was faster because when he went by Lando, he then got around Sargent, which Lando wasn't able to do.
Mm-hmm.
So and they could obviously see that, and I'm sure it came down to something like his tires were just in better shape, or
yeah, they were like, don't make it difficult for him.
Yeah, that's what they told him. Don't make it difficult. Yep. Yeah, I wasn't quite sure when I heard that, but then when I saw when he went past Lando, and then with a quickness, you could tell he was more than likely going to get around Sargent. It's like, all right, well, maybe they knew something. They could see something that told him he'd be able to at least pick up that spot.
No doubt. It was just kind of strange. Like, you don't expect to see Lando getting told that.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, and what was the lap before when they swapped once and then Lando got him back on the straight, and they go too wide through 1 and 2, and Lando's like, it's not how this is happening.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, man.
Yeah.
So
that could very well put. I don't know that that'll be necessarily fireworks, but I think you could see. I think you could see Lando just getting fed up. I mean, look, if this continues, Lando's
almost
not
similar to
around.
Danny, Rick, and Max.
Yeah, look, Lando has been loyal to you, and Lando has stuck with you thus far through some shit. In hopes of that being the smart move and solidifying himself in the team and riding that wave if that wave ever comes. But like right now, dude, they're sitting out on the surfboard just staring into the abyss and no waves are coming.
I know, right?
And then, if you start playing favoritism towards Piastri, I think Lando is going to be like, you know what? Screw this. Like, if this is what how y'all are going to do me after everything I've done thus far, like, no.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know that it'll be quite fireworks.
Yeah, no, it might not be. It honestly, it depends on how competitive the car gets
Mm-hmm.
after they start bringing these conceptual changes.
Yeah. Yeah. They better pray to God that it works. These changes
Oh,
work.
dude, all they're doing is saying, "Come on, Baku."
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep. That's
Um,
their only hope right now. Jesus.
I know.
Dude, it's not pretty at all.
Well, look, man, I think we need to talk about Ferrari here. And then, I mean, honestly, dude, after that, there's not a whole lot to get into.
No, there's not.
Truthfully, like, I mean, it was very look the back half of the grid, 11 through 20. It could be any of 4 or 5 teams
Yeah.
in
Dude,
any particular order, depending on the track.
yeah, you know what the best battle this weekend was? It was K-Mag versus Yuki.
Mm-hmm.
That was the best
For
one.
that last point.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So Ferrari,
Yep.
I don't know. Something really strange is with this car because they kind of seem to have the one lap pace. At least they can sniff the Red Bull.
Yeah, they do not have that one lap pace advantage like they did last year.
Correct. Because before Checo couldn't hang in Leclerc's realm in quali,
Mm-hmm.
and a lot of times Max couldn't, or
Yep.
him and Max were going what and what. And there was a couple times I think he just kind of obliterated everybody.
Mm-hmm.
But either way, their car still has the tendency that it way outperforms itself in qualifying in the one lap pace compared to itself, what it can do in the race.
Yes.
But to me, what was interesting was, Leclerc qualified P2, had the 10-place penalty, starts on softs, and is just blazing through the field, pushing it. Him and Max are roughly running the same pace.
Mm-hmm.
And he made his tires last into that medium tire window on the softs.
Yep.
So I understand this track is less, poses less deg issues. But either way, man, like what we've seen before, that didn't really matter with this Ferrari.
No. Even
It
on a
would
low
just
deg
destroy
track,
tires.
it was Mm-hmm.
And so, like, I'm looking at that and I'm like, okay, well, like maybe they got some of this worked out here. And they put those hard tires on. Now, I don't know if it had anything to do with they absolutely got screwed by the timing of that safety car.
Yep.
So they put these hard tires on and probably barely get them up to temperature, and then they got to come back down and fall in line behind a safety car, and they lost places because Hamilton and Russell were able to take
they got safety car pit stops. Ended up
Yeah.
capitalizing on that. Yeah. And we know how sensitive these tires are to the way you bring them in.
Right.
And look, we've seen this before, right? There was multiple times where Leclerc would start a race on softs and have a great typical Leclerc opening lap, right? And something stupid would happen and a safety car would come out and then his tires would cool back down, and safety car restart comes around, and it's like, where did Leclerc from a lap ago go? Like what happened? And it was because the way the tires came in and then just got brought back down, and then you bring them back up, and it just destroys them.
And for whatever reason,
So
the Ferrari does not like that.
it does not at all, and we know that. So in reference to the Ferrari, that very well could have played a role today, because on the hard tire, they were not making any headway on the Mercedes.
Mm-mm. And Carlos said that he could tell the air off the back of that Mercedes was screwing them up.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, I guess, he was right on Lewis's tail for a while.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden you just saw him fall away a little bit, and then he held that position. Honestly, and then Charles did the same thing to Carlos.
Yeah,
it looked just like the old days when they would just create that 2-second cushion for themselves.
And I did not understand that, right? Because Charles was right there at DRS.
Mm-hmm.
And then all of a sudden you see him back at like 1.5, 2, 2.5, and then just sat there. And it's like, so clearly he had some more pace. So what? And that was halfway through?
Yeah, that was a long stint.
And it's like, why? Why are they doing this? Why?
Like, you're kind of just waiting for him to turn it back on. But I think at that point they ran behind.
Well, no, because they told him something, because there was a radio transmission where Charles even said something along the lines of like, "Why are we doing this? What are we doing?"
Yeah,
and it was in reference. It was in reference to him having to sit behind Carlos.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know why they made that decision, especially so early on.
Yeah, something weird's going on, man. I feel like it's kind of unacceptable for a team of that stature to regress as much as they did over one season.
Mm-hmm.
But honestly, I think the root of all the problems is whatever that they're still struggling with is whatever that technical directive was that changed the floor mid-season last year.
They still can't.
They still have not recovered. They still have not recovered from what they had to change on that.
Yeah.
And like everybody can talk about flexi wings, flexi floors, all that crap. And every other team is going to complain about it. But if they pass the test, they pass the test.
Mm-hmm.
Period.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what you have. That's the way you have to design the car. And you can do the same exact thing. So do it.
Yeah, but that's not how F1 is played now. F1 is played, you figured out a better way to do this that we didn't, that is still legal, but it kind of bends the rule a little bit. So we're going to protest it.
Because it passed the test perfectly.
Oh, I know. But, this is what pisses me off. They've got this whole like, it's not within the spirit of the rules, right?
Well, that's just horse shit.
It is.
Anybody that brings that argument up, it's horse shit.
Well, no, it's complete horse shit. But it's a real thing is the problem. So that's what the teams use. That's their fucking crutch. Like they use that. Well, that flexi floor is not within the spirit of the rules.
Was DOS in the spirit of the rules?
It's all horse shit. I agree 100%. But it is a thing, and there's nothing we can do about it. It's a thing. It's real, and they can utilize that.
I feel like we're picking on Mercedes here, but they were the they were the main culprits of it, of all their hollering and screaming about it last year.
Mm-hmm.
And it didn't help them in the least.
Yeah.
But man, I hate the main problem I have with it is, there's all this talk about, they just want they want competition at the front. Well, guess what? You created a situation with these new rules where we had it. We had
And then
real
you
competition.
Took it away.
And then you screwed it and took it away because but mainly one team wasn't happy.
Yep.
And you ruined it for everybody. So now we have to watch Red Bull freaking destroy everybody. And we're back to the same spot where everybody was complaining, 2 years ago, 3 years ago now.
Yep.
But either way, Ferrari, get your shit together so we can have some interesting races.
Yeah. I almost,
because they're still the only hope. Like,
Yeah.
Aston is not. I still don't feel like they're a legitimate threat to compete with Red Bull for wins on pure merit.
No,
and I'm gonna be honest, dude. I don't think we've seen Red Bull's true pace.
I think there's still more.
They haven't needed to show it. Now, I'll say this. I think at the end of the race, they were both pushing because they were legitimately racing each other.
Yeah, and they both wanted that fast lap.
However,
man, it's funny how Max quit caring about that drive shaft real quick on that last lap. He went full send on that one.
Dude, I would be willing to bet if you gave Max the opportunity, he's that guy that would 100% be willing to risk that DNF to go for that win.
Oh, absolutely.
And not even think twice about it.
Yeah.
In fact, he would probably be more satisfied right now at this very moment had he just, absolutely 110% the back end of that race. And that drive shaft gave out, but he was closing down Checo. And versus him being told to stay in line and take it home and, hey, number 2 is your limit today.
Yeah. Oh, I absolutely agree.
Like his P15
Look, if you ain't
P2.
first, you're last.
Yeah, dude, that's the way he thinks.
Yeah.
Like in the interview room, TC asked him, like, oh, Max, you must, how you feeling, P15 to P2. His answer was, I'm not here to finish second.
Yeah.
Dude, that's savage. And that is exactly the killer that I've been talking about in referencing to these guys that are at the top of their game.
Yeah. Anybody else notice in the cool down room where he just naturally gravitated toward that center number 1 chair that was clearly labeled for Checo?
That was funny.
Didn't think twice about it. Just went and took that chair.
He's like, oh, wait, you mean this isn't mine?
Yeah. Like, no. Checo, this even today, like, this is still my chair. I thought that was great.
Yeah, that was kind of funny.
And dude, I honestly don't think he really even thought about it. Like, I don't think it was any kind of dick move.
No.
I think it was just so natural for him to go to that one. I legitimately think he just went to that one out of habit.
And I just saw the pictures. I didn't see him walk in. They might not have even had the sign. You know how they put the picture behind him?
No, look at the picture I sent you. It's
I know. I'm saying when he sat down.
Oh no, it was there.
Was it? Okay.
Oh, it was.
I didn't know.
Yeah.
Either way.
Yep.
It's still funny.
Yeah, it is.
But yeah, I don't know. Supposedly Ferrari has some big upgrades in the pipeline that were, kind of not they really didn't get put it fully in the full go until testing when they kind of correlate what they thought in the actuality. So I really don't know. There's still some disconnect. I think Charles needs a new race engineer. I really do.
The communication isn't there.
It's just terrible, man.
Yeah.
Just something as simple as having him push
At the
from
right
safety
time.
car to safety car
Yep.
when it's not timed, and he comes out easily in front of Hamilton, and that changes the race because they don't get stuck in that dirty air.
Yeah.
And with the speed advantage, Hamilton can't pass them on the straights.
Right.
And then you're talking about they're running in clean air, which clearly those cars like. And they're a whole different car when they're in it. Obviously, every car likes it versus not clean air, but it seems to be very, very fragile when it comes to that. And it's a completely different race for them. And maybe you're looking at closing out Fernando.
Possibly. Yeah, I mean, it could have changed a whole lot. But yeah, those little details, those little things, that communication, you're right. It's not there. And it hasn't been there for a while.
No, I mean it's been absent. They're always a day late and $1 short.
Yep.
Like he comes on and he's like, "Oh, make sure you're pushing." And Charles is like, "What the fuck, dude? Like I'm already to the safety car line."
Yeah, I needed
Hamilton's
to know that
in front of me
before.
now. It's the same thing like Monaco last year. I don't know, 4 or 5 different screw ups.
Yeah.
And I'm, dude.
Oh, box. No, stay out. No, box. No, stay out.
Dude, if they keep this up, they are going to lose Charles.
Yeah.
Or I don't know. To me, if I'm Ferrari, I'm allowing it. Charles has the kind of power where he's like, "Look, make changes."
Dude, I mean, if I'm Ferrari, I'm giving Charles carte blanche.
Yeah,
Like,
that's what I mean. Like,
no ifs, ands, or buts.
He is their hope. He's the great hope.
Yep.
So I mean, I can't keep that freaking dude happy. Like, obviously, he's not going to be thrilled that the car sucks again. But
there's other things you can do.
There's a ton of other things that can make this whole situation a lot better. I mean, you're talking about a P6 and a P7 finish where if you operate it smoother, you're looking at, fighting for the podium.
Yeah, you're looking at P4, maybe a 3,
Yeah. I mean, think about how much they coasted around in the back half of that race.
Oh, yeah.
And they were 15 seconds behind Alonso.
Yeah. Well, I mean, dude, just right off the bat, Carlos was what, a second and a half off of Hamilton before he kind of backed out to
he was in like right at that DRS line for a while.
I don't have it in front of me. What did he finish behind Hamilton?
4 seconds.
Actually, I do have it right here. Yeah, so 4 seconds.
4 and a half.
Then, you've got I mean, Charles finished 8
Charles
seconds.
backed it down on the
but he
last lap.
backed it down. Yeah.
On the last lap, he packed in 4 seconds.
Yeah. He was running, he was the same. So he was right at DRS for Hamilton. So let's call it 1.2, right? Because he was never right at getting DRS. And he went to 4. So let's just call it 3 seconds. Charles was right at DRS, and he backed down to almost 3 seconds. So there's another 2.
And
so
it happened at exactly the same time.
Right.
I don't know if you noticed that.
There's 5 seconds gone right there, right? So if we play the numbers, you're 10 seconds off Alonso. And that was still during management.
Right.
So you get past the Mercs, and maybe you can run them down. Maybe
and not even get past you Charles already ran Lewis down, blew by him, and left him in the dust.
Yes.
And what was Lewis in when Charles passed him? P6?
Yes. Sounds right.
I think about. But, so I mean, I guess, 30,000 foot view. There are positives out of this race that Ferrari can take. Because, one, they made the soft tire work and stretched it out equal to medium while you're pushing it hard, because Charles is trying to work his way back through the field.
Yep.
There was no management mode in there. And you had real race pace. But there's just some serious flaws, man, that they are significantly hampering your progression. And if they don't get on top of them, it's gonna be rough.
Yep.
Because I'm sorry, man, I just feel like it's unacceptable for that caliber of team
to be doing these things.
Well, to go from having a car on terms with Red Bull last year to the disparity they have now between the two.
Absolutely. Yep. Now, let's also keep in mind, Rome wasn't built in a day, right? Fred Vasseur just came on board. So he's not, I really do believe he's going to turn things around.
Yeah, but he's not designing the car. Like he's a team principal.
I'm not talking about like car design. I'm just talking about all these little things that he can affect.
Dude, I am sorry, dude. That engineer problem, that was a massive problem last year.
That's huge.
That should not happen. Like if you're, and it was so easy to see last year. If you're Fred, how do you not even know about that? Like, how do you not nip that in the butt immediately?
Yeah.
That's one of the first things I'm fixing. I'm keeping my star driver happy and informed and always ahead of the curve on the track.
Yep.
You think you're going to beat Max? Let's say you had an equal car. You think you're going to beat Max fucking around like that? No. I.e., first half of last year.
Yep.
So, I mean, yeah, I get Fred just started over there, but that's something that was blatantly obvious last year, and it already happened again. The technical stuff, yeah, like that is what it is. Like that's going to take time. But that is something that to me, it's not a time, like it's not something that takes time to fix. It's
Well,
just something that's either
unless
inherently a problem or it's not.
unless it does, right? Unless there's nobody in the jump seat, or I don't know, but I do
Then you
agree with
find
you.
somebody. I don't
Well,
care if they're wearing red currently or not, because look, man, I mean,
it's not like you can just put out a job posting on Indeed.com for a F1 race engineer.
dude, look, obviously there's more to that job than the communication aspect of it. But Jesus Christ, just have some how is it so difficult to figure out a system where you get your driver the information on time?
Mm-hmm.
I
Yeah.
just can't. I can't understand how that is such a big problem.
Right. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know.
But it's not like it seems like something so minute. Like the people that have these jobs are just so detail oriented. And it's just not there, dude. And I don't
Mm-mm.
see after it immediately we're in race 2 and we're already seeing the same issues. I don't think it's going to change.
It doesn't look like it will this year, at least, for sure.
I think there needs to be a change made.
I
And
don't disagree.
I'd be shocked if Charles isn't calling for it.
Mm-hmm.
They got a 2-week break. It wouldn't surprise me if he's got a new race engineer in Australia.
Mm.
This has been too many times. Just that instant,
Oh
just
yeah.
that single thing has cost him.
I'm not arguing that fact, but I don't think it's going to happen like that.
I think it should. And I think Fred.
Well, I don't
I think
disagree that it should.
Mattia would absolutely let that run on. I want to see what Fred does about it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Be a good test for him.
Mm-hmm. They say to this point he's kind of been no bullshit over there, and it's kind of been ruffling some feathers.
Yeah.
They've had a few people leave, which that's natural. That's going to happen anytime there's just like in football, anytime there's a head coaching change, assistants follow.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But
yeah, you're going to have that.
So we'll see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Let's move this on down the line. What's left of it? Not that there's a whole lot to talk about. I mean,
it's really not. AlphaTauri looked a little bit better than they did last week. Yuki was up in the points until K-Mag decided he wasn't.
Yeah.
Alfa Romeo and Williams, bro.
That was rough. Yep.
I mean, Williams was on preferential tire and at the end there.
And still had nothing.
And started falling backwards.
Yep. And then McLaren just still that dumpster fire is still burning.
We will give McLaren a pass until Baku, and then we'll really start judging them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we'll see what that brings.
Yeah, and look, if it's still a dumpster fire, then we got some serious problems.
Yep,
serious problems.
Yeah. Yeah, other than that, there ain't a whole hell of a lot.
Dude, I mean, there wasn't a ton going on in this race, which is kind of crazy because last year there was just shit happening all over the place.
Mm-hmm. It was an exciting one last year.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And the year before. I mean, this is the third time we've had this one, and this is the first time it was kind of a snooze fest.
Yep. Yep. So
I mean, if it wasn't, thank God, Max had to work his way up.
otherwise, it'd have
Charles,
been
too.
really, yeah, it'd have been even more boring than it already was.
And what a dumb, like, we didn't even talk about the safety car.
Oh,
And what,
yeah.
like, what the hell is that about? Lance
Yeah.
literally pulled his shit behind the barrier and they threw a safety car out.
Yeah. Oh, well, our telemetry showed that he was still on track. Well, did you ever think to use the fucking radios that every flag marshal has on his head?
Or a TV screen that shows the
Yeah.
car behind the barrier.
Right? I mean, Jesus. That was ridiculous, dude. Because like at first on watching it, all they were showing was the camera that's pointed right at Lance, right? Like all you see is his helmet. And you
Mm-hmm.
see him kind of like motioning and talking, but you have no idea anything else, where he is, how
Right.
close he is, right? And then you're like, all right, well, he's obviously close enough, but maybe he's on the other side of the barrier. Maybe, who knows? But that's not the only camera that's on there, and that's not the only feed.
Then they showed a
That
helicopter view.
yeah, but
He's
that's
completely behind the barrier.
the marshals have all the feeds all the time,
Mm-hmm.
and you could clearly see it. And then they throw a safety car. Oh, our telemetry said he was still on the track. Well, you gonna believe the telemetry, or are you gonna believe the live feed from the helicopter that shows you where he is in real time? Like, dude, come on.
And the crazy thing was, they showed that before they initiated the safety car.
Mm-hmm. Yep. They sure did. That makes absolutely zero sense. But at the same time, it kind of does make sense. It kind of goes along with the whole Alonso gets a 10-second penalty, and oh no, you know what? No, never mind. We're gonna retract that and reinstate his podium.
Dude, he is 100% right what he said in his interviews. And I don't care if he broke the rule or not. That penalty is not administered after the fact,
Post-race.
after the race. You
Yep.
absolutely missed your chance.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you had the better part of an hour
Yeah.
to look at that and figure that out. And it's not something that is hard to figure out. They touched the car or they didn't.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep.
The back jack man touched it. Penalty. Done. It should happen on his outlap.
Yeah.
Because he's serving a penalty, so you should be watching it in real time.
Yep.
I mean, dude, just embarrassing, dude. This is
supposed to be the pinnacle of motorsports.
Freaking Bush League, bro.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. It is. Absolutely is.
Yeah, you can't hand down that penalty after the race.
No.
You give him a penalty. You saw how quick he opened up a gap when they told him he was looking at a 5-second, which I think that's kind of on Aston. I don't know why they told him 5. Like, that's a 10-second penalty.
Yeah.
So that was a mistake on their part. But either way, immediately he pulled that gap to 5 when he was floating at 4. He pulled a second in no time when George was pushing.
Yep. George, yeah, because they were telling George the same thing. So George was pushing.
What makes you think he couldn't have easily, over the course of 35 laps?
Yeah. Well, yeah, he had 35 to do it.
Pull it to 10.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Absolutely.
So, I mean, I don't know. That can't happen.
No.
That's another thing that has to be addressed. Like, in race penalties, I'm sorry. Like, there needs to be like a statute of limitations. Certain penalties, I don't care what happens, what happened. Once the race is over, I'm sorry, you missed your chance. You can't assess a penalty in retrospect.
I agree. Yeah, I mean, you've got to have like, you know, unless it's within X amount of laps to the finish, right? Like there's you don't
Mm-hmm.
get a second chance at it
Mm-hmm.
afterwards, you know.
There needs to just be a time, like a time frame, whether it be laps or actual elapsed time.
Yeah. Or here's an idea. Let's go back to just how penalties used to be, where it was a drive through or just a stop and go. And then you don't have to even worry about, oh, did they touch the car before they did the pit stop while he's serving a penalty or not? You come in, you stop, you go, or you just drive straight through. And guess what? There's no stupid questions. Well, did they touch the car? Did they not touch the car? Did the jackman touch it? But that's technically allowed because the rules say you can't work on it. Well, he wasn't technically working on it. You know, like there's no gray area. Let's just go back to how motorsports penalties have always been. Stop and go, drive through. Why can't we work with that?
Yeah, and it can't be
Or,
in tandem with a pit stop.
right. Yeah, I was going to say, you just make it to where here's your penalty. It cannot be done with a pit stop.
That's how it was forever.
Yeah, it was.
But I guess they had to change it when they started giving out penalties for fucking everything.
They did. Yeah.
But, like another thing that changed this year is used to not be able to serve a penalty under a safety car pit stop. Which
I was wondering
I think that's
about that.
stupid because that doesn't matter.
Remember. Was that ever actually a rule?
Yeah.
Was
But
it? Okay.
that doesn't matter. Like that's a stupid rule. Well, I'm glad they changed that because what does that have to do? I don't like you still it's still going to cost you the same amount of time in your seating.
Well, I guess they're looking at it as, well, the penalty was committed in real time, so the penalty needs to be served in real race time. Or not the penalty. The infraction was committed in real time.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I just think it's all these penalties are kind of ridiculous.
Oh, it
But
absolutely is.
look, that one, I get it why he got that one. I do think that's a penalty that you never saw. And then all of a sudden, the first two races of this year, you see one each race. And it's like,
Yeah.
something must have changed with these cars where all of a sudden it's an issue to see. Like it's even more difficult to see.
Yeah.
And they say like, well, Fernando sits lower than almost anybody because he's one of the shortest guys. But Ocon's like the tallest dude on the grid by far.
And he had a penalty.
And
for
he couldn't see it last week.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. Maybe they need to do something, put some kind of directional line in there that they can see that when they're approaching.
Maybe so.
Like a center line or something. Or I don't know. But I mean, these cars are getting ridiculous to see out of, period.
Yep.
Help the guys out a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah. No kidding.
But nonetheless, either way, he was outside of his box. Cut and dry was a penalty. So I agree with it. Like, that's the kind of things that you can easily set rules and penalize for.
Yeah.
Which I think track limits are stupid. But I get them now in this modern era where you have so many tracks that they don't have, like, the runoff isn't punishing. So you kind of have to do it, right?
Yeah, it's just asphalt where it's beneficial if you were to use it.
Right. So they're a pain in the ass, but nonetheless, you kind of need them. But either way, they make that way more difficult than they have to. Like, did he cross the line or didn't he?
Yeah. And every one of them, they have a camera set up that points straight down it.
Right.
So like it's not hard to determine. There's a clear shot of it.
So
that's our FIA needs to get their shit together soapbox for the week.
yeah, I'm sure we'll have plenty more.
Oh yeah,
from the looks of it.
Yeah, that was just this week's.
Mm-hmm. Race number 2.
Yep.
Anything else you want to get into from this week?
Man, I think that's about it. I got nothing else.
Yeah. Unfortunately, it's kind of a dull one.
Yeah. We're gonna keep this one short and sweet this time. Not a whole lot to get into.
Looking forward to Australia. I love that freaking track, and I wish it was the first race of the year.
I know, man. It just for no other reason other than nostalgia. Like I want it to be race 1, you know. But I agree. I do love the track, which feels weird saying that about a street circuit. But that's one of those tracks that, like, man, if you didn't know it was a street circuit, you'd never guess it was.
I know.
You know, or like if you
Kinda
couldn't see the lines painted,
right?
You know,
just like Canada.
Yeah, same thing. Yeah, it does not. It's not your tradition, or it's not your typical of these days street circuit.
Right.
It's an old.
Yeah, I mean, you got runoffs and gravel traps, and you got you know asphalt to wall in some places, but mostly that's on your straights.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Yeah,
it's just a cool track, man.
It is. It is. Hopefully, we've got a little bit more to talk about after that one. So yeah, so let's see. So we've got
when is Mercedes saying that they're these giant upgrades and new concepts are going to be out?
I have not seen if they've said when. Let's see if I can find it real quick, but Mercedes hints side pods could change with its 2023. Toto Wolff has offered a first suggestion that Mercedes will revise its zero side pod concept during the 2023 season.
So they hadn't given a timeline yet?
No. Nope. No, I don't see anything that. Let's see. Mercedes hints at imminent visible changes are likely within the next few Grand Prix, but mooted, bigger departures and more radical changes remain some way off. So yeah, nothing specific, just at some point. So we don't know on that one. The only one we have to really look forward to is McLaren's changes in Baku. See what those bring. But
all right, anything to look what we got to look forward to in Australia here before we get out of here? You know, look, here's the thing, man. Here's the $1 million question. 2 races in a row, Red Bull has absolutely dominated, but has had reliability scares and concerns, and were legitimately concerned that they weren't going to make it to the end in both races.
They weren't, but Max was.
No,
I thought no. I thought that was funny though on the radio. They're like, "We're not worried about it." He's like, "Well, I am."
Right, but then if you noticed, they kept on checking back with him. I think they were seeing something.
Oh yeah, they were, but
and they kept checking back with him when he wasn't asking. That was funny though.
Yeah.
Oh, we're not concerned about it, Max. Which
Hmm.
essentially means there's nothing that we could do about it.
So
So
just keep driving.
just keep driving.
Yep.
But they kept on being like they never really let it go.
Hmm. Yeah.
And
They saw something.
there was something funky on Checo's car that he was having trouble with brakes,
It sounded
right?
like just brake fade.
Yeah.
He complained of a long pedal.
Hmm. But which I think that was kind of a thing with that track because you go so long on some of these sections
Yeah, but
without.
that wouldn't induce brake fade
Well,
because
I
that
thought
gives you brake fade is typically where you overheat them.
right, but what I thought they said was the cycle gets so thrown off that it by the end of it, it starts to create issues
Mm,
because it gets
maybe.
so cold. Yeah, well, I mean, cold for
Yeah,
for what these things typically run at.
relatively speaking.
Yeah, so cold, and then instantly sprung back in, and just the cycle over the Grand Prix isn't ideal for them.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean it's possible. I'm not very familiar with carbon ceramic brakes and how they react.
Well, maybe for research, you should throw some of those on your car.
I mean, hey, look, if anybody wants to send me some, I will happily throw them on the car and do some testing. Happily.
Was that 98 Prelude?
Yep. Yep. 98 Prelude set of carbon ceramic brakes. I will do all the testing required.
But yeah, so I mean, look, is this the race that maybe we see something catch them? They've kind of made it through by the skin of their teeth, by the way it
Mhm.
seems.
Yeah.
And didn't they have some kind of little power unit thing that they changed? Like they didn't
Mm,
get a penalty, obviously yet, but didn't they
did they?
change something power unit wise?
I don't recall.
But anyway, maybe Australia is the week it catches them, and we get some fresh blood on the top two steps.
Maybe so.
From the looks of it, it would be Fernando Alonso to capitalize on it, but who knows? And I think it's safe to say the Ferrari's concept this year in terms of track dependence and track favorabilities is not what it was last year.
Hmm.
Like there's not much comparison to be made.
Yep. We need a little bit more data to kind of figure it out this year.
Like normally you would say, okay, look, Ferrari smashed everybody last year on this track. Leclerc was untouchable going into Australia, but I think they've changed the car in a way that's not going to work.
Hmm. Yeah.
That comparison isn't really valid.
Nope.
So who knows, man?
Yeah.
Who knows?
So, all right. You got anything else? I think we're
Nah,
going to
that's
call
it.
this one a wrap.
Yep.
So, all right. I'm going to leave you with this quote. And I feel like at some point we're going to hear something to this effect come out of either Christian or Max's mouth. And it goes to the tune of, well, Dick, here's the deal. I'm the best there is, plain and simple. I mean, I wake up in the morning and I piss excellence, Nobody can hang with my stuff. I'm just a big, hairy American winning machine. If you ain't first, you're last, You know what I mean? And for those of you that unfortunately didn't know that one right off the bat, that is Mr. Ricky Bobby, the one and only.
The one and only.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like that is very fitting, though, to kind of where we're at right now.
Nobody can hang with my stuff.
Yeah. So, all right. that's going to wrap this one. Appreciate y'all hanging out with us, and we will be back after Australia, and hopefully it's a lot less boring. So all we can do is wait and see. So
Let's ride.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's jump on a plane. It's gonna be a long flight down under. Let's just start heading that way.
That would be awesome.
Yeah, I know, right? I don't know about that, man. Like, look, there's not like critters or bugs or anything like that I'm necessarily afraid of. But anything that you may have a fear of, Australia has it like times 10. Oh, you don't like spiders? We have ones that are, like 3 feet wide. Oh, you don't like snakes? We have all of the most deadly ones in the world.
Spiders too.
Yeah, that too. That's just two things off the top of my head,
Yeah, but that's out in the desert and all.
Oh, I'm just saying. If
Like they got
there's
a lot of wild places in Australia.
Australia's
That's
got
mostly where it's at.
everything that could possibly kill you.
Yeah.
And I mean, if I'm gonna go to Australia, I'm gonna want to go see the desert parts and see it all, But
That don't interest me. I'd rather go to the beach and play with the great whites.
I'm kind of interested in maybe going a round or two with a kangaroo. I think I could take him. I got a long reach. Might have him as long as he doesn't kick me.
Them things are nasty.
Yeah, I know, right?
They're
Old
wicked.
freaking cock diesel kangaroos.
Mm-hmm. TRT kangaroos.
All right. Well, we'll see y'all after they get done playing with the kangaroos down under.
Yep.
All right. Catch y'all later.
Later.